Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Expert Talk series of Zoho Payroll. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session today. I am Manasa, product expert for Zoho Payroll, and I will be hosting today's session. And our product expert, Arun, will be walking you through the eighth session of the Expert Talk series.
Hello everyone, very good afternoon. Myself Arun Kumar, expert on Zoho Payroll. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you on our today's session on understanding and setting up the reimbursements and allowances in Zoho Payroll. So, in today's session, it is designed to equip you with the knowledge of setting up and managing the allowances and reimbursements seamlessly within Zoho Payroll platform. Whether you are a HR profession tasked to configure the reimbursement policies or a payroll administrator responsible for processing the employee's claims or a business owner seeking to streamline your payroll operation, I assure you that you will find a valuable insights and a practical guidance in our today's session. So as you can see in the screen, we will start with the overview of allowances and the reimbursements is a groundwork for the our discussion. From there, we will explore the different types of allowances and move into the practical aspects of creating them in Zoho Payroll, and as well as we will dive into the flexible benefit plan and how we can incorporate into the employee salary details. Following that, we will learn about the seamless process of declaring the employees' reimbursements from their self-service portal and approve them from the admin tool. And additionally, I'll be sharing you the pro tips for the admins to have this information as in the point of compliance. And finally, we'll wrap up with the Q&A session to address any kinds of queries that you might have. So without any further delay, let's dive into our today's agenda to explore the world of reimbursements and allowances. So we will start with what is mean by allowances. As we will delve into the realm of allowances, it is essential to understand the fundamental nature of the purposes. So allowance is nothing but the amount which is paid additional to the employee salary of their basic wages. So this means the employee gets some additional income which are expenses directly related to their job or provided to their additional income for the specific purposes. So these allowances plays a crucial role in enhancing the overall compensation package of your employees in their financial needs and may beyond to their basic salary. So this has two types or three types of allowances. So firstly, we will see what are the types of allowances. So first allowance is fully taxable, and secondly is partially taxable, and third one would be non-taxable, which means the completely tax-free components. So let us understand what is mean by fully taxable allowance. So this is a monetary benefit or perks provided by the employer in addition to their employee's regular salary, but they are subjected to taxation by default. Whatever the components that are paid to the employees under this earning will be considered as an entirely taxable component. The best example for this fully taxable component would be the DNS allowance. And also we have overtime allowances and as well as the night shift allowances and bonuses. So these components which are paid to the employees are considered as a fully taxable allowances. And nextly, we will move on to the partially taxable allowances. So what is mean by partially taxable allowance? The allowance which is paid by the employer to the employee up to a certain limit, the employees can be exempted from the tax for this component. Let's say employer is giving an house rent allowance, conveyance allowance, and children education allowance. So the amount paid by the employer may not be fully taxable and may not be fully tax exempted. So it is a flexibility where the employee has an option to declare their investments to get the tax benefited from their taxable income. We will move on to the non-taxable earnings. So non-taxable earning is nothing but the amount which is paid by the employer to the employee is completely considered as a non-taxable earning. So majorly this allowance is paid to the government employees as in most cases, or the allowances which is paid to the High Court or the Supreme Court judges would be considered as a non-taxable allowances. Now we have seen the three types of allowances and how the tax works on these three types of categories. Now we will move on to the reimbursements part. So let's understand what is mean by reimbursement. Reimbursement is nothing but a compensation which is paid to the employee on the expenses that are made on uh, amount which is related to their job related expenses. or reimbursed for their employees amount that they have paid for. Or this reimbursement is mainly classified into two types. One is the reimbursements which are included in CTC, and the second type is the business reimbursements. The reimbursements included in CTC is nothing but while you're offering an employee, a fixed amount is allocated under their breakdown. Say this will be paid when the employee submits a bill which are related to their expenses that they have made. And these reimbursements are considered as a non-taxable earning when the bills are submitted. When it comes to business expense reimbursements, the amount which is paid by the employee on behalf of the company and the employee submits the bill to the employer in later stages would be considered as business reimbursements. So this amount will be claimed back by the employees by submitting the bills. So the allowances and reimbursements can be provided as in the form of a flexi benefit plan. So now let's understand what is mean by flexible benefit plan. So flexible benefit plan is flexicity that you offer to your employees, where the employees can go ahead and claim their benefits and their taxes from their offered salary breakup. So the company can decide what are the components that can be given as a flexible benefit plan to the employees to save up the taxes, and at the same time employer is staying in the line of compliance. So in this case, let us understand a salary breakup where the company has provided a list of allowances to the employee. The employee A have opted for the flexible benefit plan, and the employee B have not opted for the flexible benefit plan. So in this case, we have taken the annual CTC as 18 lakh, and here is a breakdown for the annual CTC. So the employee receives a basic of 9 lakh per annum, and the DNS allowance of 1 lakh 20,000, and house rent allowance is 4 lakh 50,000, conveyance is 19,200, and children education allowances 2,400, and telephone internet allowances 19,200. And finally, the employer has a special allowance of 61,200 rupees. So under which the first employee have diversely planned for their income tax, and he have made some investments and submitted a bill for their tax benefit and to reduce their taxability on the yearly basis. So the employee have declared the house rent allowance exemption for 4,38,000, and conveyance for 19,200, children education of 2,400, and telephone and internet allowance of 19,200. So by declaring this, the total tax on income for this employee has been reduced to 10,34,100 rupees. And in this, the total taxability that the employee is supposed to pay for the financial year would be 1,27,639 rupees. When you compare it with the second employee who have not planned for their flexible benefit plan or the declaration, the total income that the employee is receiving 14,97,900 for the financial year, and for which he is supposed to pay a tax of 2,72,345 rupees. So we can see the drastic change in the income tax, and this impacts the employee's net pay. So now we have understood how the income tax or the flexible benefit plan is going to save their employees taxability and increase in their net pay. So now we are going to see how this information can be configured inside Zoho Payroll. So for that, we are moving into the dashboard. So this is how the employee, dashboard looks like. So here, in order to create a flexible benefit plan, so we need to click on settings on the bottom left-hand side. And here we go to salary components. So in salary components, we can see the list of existing allowance or the earnings on the current screen. So if you want to create a new earning component, you should click on add component, earning, and we are going to create an earning as a uniform allowance. And on the right hand side, you see the other configurations. So in this, you can see an option to include this component as a part of flexible benefit to your employees. So under which you have a subsection called restrict employee from overriding the FBP amount. This means either the employee can opt in the maximum amount or they can opt out entirely. So in the enter maximum amount, you can enter what is the maximum amount that is eligible for the employee, which means the topmost employee. And you can mark this as active and you can click on save. So we can see the created allowance or the FBP allowance is listed here in the bottom of the earnings tab. In the same way, we will be able to create a reimbursements by clicking on the reimbursement tab. And now we are going to create the leave travel allowance as a flexible benefit plan. So for this, we are enabling this component as include this component in flexible benefit component. And here we have three subsections for claiming the unclaimed, which means for the unclaimed reimbursements, how it needs to be handled. The first option explains that this unclaimed amount for the financial year would be carried forwarded for the next financial year. As we know, LTA has a 4 block year. The employees have a flexibility to claim the entire amount within any of the 4 block year. So the first option allows you to carry forward the entire unclaimed amount for this current financial year into the next financial year. And the second option explains the unclaimed amount for LTA will be paid at end of March, which is the last month of the financial year. And the third option that you see, carry forward the unclaimed leave travel allowance on a monthly basis. So which means the amount which is not claimed by the employee will be paid on the same month if there are no bills are submitted. So we are marking this as active and we are entering the maximum amount eligible for the topmost employee in your organization. So now we have seen how the component needs to be created in Zoho Payroll. Now let us understand how this can be configured into the employee's flexible benefit plan. So for this, we are going to employees and selecting the employee for whom we are going to associate this flexible benefit plan. And then we are moving into the salary details page. And by editing this salary details, you will be able to see the list of flexible benefit plan that is offered for the employee. So you can click on the small checkbox right side to the component name. So this means the employee is you are providing the flexible benefit option to this employee. This will be listed under their salary breakdown. And here we are not declaring any amount, and as well as we are updating the children education allowance, and we can see the maximum amount here. So this means the maximum limit for this component or the allowance can be set for the individual employees as well. So we are enabling the list of components where the employees can choose it from their flexible benefit plan when we release the employee self-service portal and the FBB declaration for your employees. So now we are saving this. So this is one way of updating the employees flexible benefit plan for individual employees. Now let us understand how this can be uploaded in the form of a bulk way. So for this, you go to employees. On the right hand side, you see the three dotted button. So here you should click on import data. So from there, you have a drop down and here you find an option called employee salary details. Click on proceed. So here you can download the CSV or XLS format for downloading the sample file of salary details. So I have already downloaded the sample Excel file and I've filled in the information. So this is how the sample file looks like. So in this, I have updated the employee number and what is the CTC per annum and what is the contribution of basic. So I have configured the basic as percentage of CTC. So I'm entering the percentage here. So system auto computes 50 percentage from the given monthly CTC. And next we see that house rent allowance is given as a flexible benefit plan. So you need to create 3 columns for the flexible benefit plan. One is the house rent allowance, which is the earning name, and what is the maximum contribution for that specific employee, and whether the component is applicable for that employee. So these 3 columns should be created for any kinds of flexible benefit allowances that you create. So the first allowance you enter, so house rent allowance is derived from the percentage of basic as per my configuration. So I'm entering the percentage as 50%. So here I can set this contribution can be set as 40%. That means for this employee number one, employee can claim the maximum percentage of 40. And here HRA is enabled or not. So if I mark this component as yes, this component is applicable for the employee number one. So let's say for the second employee, we are not giving the HRA as a flexible benefit plan. So we can keep the column as blank or you can update the column as no. And in the same way, we see the flexibility for the reimbursement components. So here we have taken the reimbursement component as fuel reimbursement. So at first you enter the amount that is eligible and then what is the maximum amount the employee can claim under his profile. and whether the component of reimbursement is eligible, which means applicable for that specific employee or not, and carry forward option. If the component is supposed to be paid or it can be carry forwarded till end of March, you will be mentioning the component value as monthly. If the amount needs to be claimed on the same month, the employee will submit a bill and they will get their reimbursements on the same month. So now in order to import that, we are choosing the file that we have created and clicking on next. Here we need to map the components that we have created in the Excel sheet. So for house rent allowance, I have named it as house rent HRE. So I'm choosing the component and mapping this information here. So in the similar way, we have mapped the information for fuel reimbursement with fuel reimbursement, and fuel reimbursement maximum with fuel maximum amount, and fuel reimbursement is enabled or not. The components that we have created in the Excel or the fields that we have created in the Excel is mapped here, and we are scrolling down. It needs to be mapped for all the components, and then we are saving this selection for our future imports. So which means we doesn't need to remap the information while we are re-uploading the Excel once again. So now we can see the total number of employee salary details which are ready to import and the number of records which are being skipped. So we can click on import option after rectifying the errors that are being displayed. So now we can see that employee information is updated successfully. So we can scroll down your screen and we can find the list of components that are eligible. So now we understood how to declare the FPP and reimbursements to your employees. Now let us understand how the employee can claim their FPP and FPP of allowances and reimbursements from the employee self-service portal. So in order to claim that as an admin, you should release a FPP declaration and the reimbursements for your employees. For that, as an admin, you should click on settings and go to preferences, and under flexible benefit plan, you need to release the IT declaration. So you can choose any date between 1st to 30th or the last date of the month to release your FPP declaration, and same for your reimbursements. And we are also going to release the IT declaration for your employees. So you can set the log date and you can click on save. So once the FPP reimbursements and income tax declaration is released for your employees, the employee is going to log into their employee self-service portal, and the employee self-service portal will be looking like this. So under the announcement, you will be able to see how the employees can declare their flexible benefit plan. So for this, we will click on view FPP and we will select the list of FPP here. Now let's see how the FPP can be declared from the employee self-service portal. So the employee will go into their flexible benefit plan and they will choose the list of allowances that they require. So this employee opts for FPP for house rent allowance and children education allowance and food coupon. So here, as we see the food coupon, we have enabled the restriction whether the employee can opt in for the maximum amount or they can opt out for the entire flexible benefit plan. So next, we have the fuel reimbursement. So the employee is opting in for the fuel reimbursement. And now we are saving the FPP declarations from the employee self-service portal. And we see the list of FPP which has been declared by the employee is listed under their salary details. So we can see house rent allowance, children education allowance, food coupon, and the fuel reimbursement. So now let us understand how to submit the reimbursements the employee have opted for. We are switching to the reimbursements tab and we are clicking on add claim, and we are selecting the fuel reimbursement and entering the claim date, and we will enter the bill amount here and we will send it for approval. The employee sends the request for the approval. And also, where the employee have declared for the flexible benefit plan, children education allowance, and fuel reimbursement. So allowances of house rent and children education should be declared under the investments to get that amount to be tax exempted. For that, the employee will switch to the investments tab and click on the declaration tab and scroll down your screen. So under other allowance, you would be able to see the list of allowances. So here you need to enter the children education allowance, the maximum eligibility, and then we can click on save and submit. So now we have seen how the information can be declared from the ESS portal, and now we will review how this can be approved from the admin page. So firstly, we will see the declarations of FPP is being reflected under the employee's profile or not. So we can see the employee have opted in for house rent allowance, children education allowance, food coupon, and fuel reimbursements. And the FPP made under the employee self-service portal is successfully updated. In the same way, we can review the declarations are considered for the tax exemption or not. So we can see the house rent allowance has been declared, and as well as the children education and conveyance allowance has been updated under the flexible benefit plan. So for the reimbursements approval, the admin should go for the approvals tab and click on reimbursements. So we can see the pending reimbursement which has been submitted by the employee. As an admin, they can click on the bill and review the amount, and they can modify the amount which needs to be approved for the submitted bill, and it has been approved by the admin. So now let us understand how the declarations are made is being reflected under the employees tax computation worksheet for the processing month. So for that, we are going into the parents, and we have created the parent for the month of May, and are clicking on the specific employee for whom we have declared the FPP allowances and reimbursements. So under the tax computation sheet, we are able to see the house rent allowance which has been declared, and the conveyance allowance under section 10 has been exempted. So we can see conveyance allowance and as well as the children education allowance here. So now we will go on to the additional tips the admin needs to be noted while they are giving the flexible benefit plans to the employees and the reimbursements. So when an allowance is giving paid to the employer while you're creating an allowance, ensure you're choosing the right earning type for the flexible benefit plan. So under settings, you have salary components. The list of flexible benefit plans are pre-filled under this earning type that you can see: children education allowance, transport, helper allowance, uniform. All the exemptions which are under section 10 are being pre-created under the list of earning types. So ensure to choose the right earning type to get the tax benefit or to offer a flexible benefit plan for your employees. And verify the reimbursement that you're providing for your employees is offered in the CTC offered in the CTC structure to get that amount as a tax benefit. If it is an expense reimbursements, we have Zoho expense using which you can claim your business related expense and pay for your employees. And as an admin, you can review the bills which are submitted for the reimbursements and for the flexible benefit allowances under section 10 and approve them accordingly. And here the system will automatically prorate the amount that has to be paid for the employee. So let's say an employee is eligible for 10,000 per month. So which means per year the employee can claim up to 1,20,000. So if the employee is joining in the month of May, so which means the employee can claim up to 1,10,000. Though the employee submits or the admin approves the amount more than 1,10,000, system will auto restrict the amount to 1,10,000 for that specific earning. So this will be auto computed by the system. And if the employee is not submitting a bill for the list of allowances for the investments that they have made, at end of March, system will automatically consider the provided tax exemptions and recompute the entire tax for the allowances that are paid for the employees. And the employee is exiting in between a financial year, and at the time, system will automatically recompute that entire exemption from the amount which has been paid till the last working date of that employee. And even if the amount is approved by addition, the amount will be restricted to the maximum eligibility. From this, we have come to our end of the session today. So in our today's session, we have reviewed what is mean by allowance and reimbursements and its types and the eligibility, and we have seen how the allowances can be created in Zoho Payroll and how that can be configured with a specific employee and as well as uploading in the bulk format. And then we have seen how the IT declaration and the FVP allowance can be declared from the employee self-service portal. After the declaration, how the employer can view from the admin tool whether the FPP has been opted by the employee or not. And then we have seen how the reimbursement can be approved from the approvals tab. And we have given a pro tips for the admins on creating a component and how to associate it with your employees. Now we are moving into the Q&A questions where you can ask your questions on the Q&A tab. So our experts will be happy to assist you on this. So I'm projecting some of the questions to every one of you and address it. So we have Jagdish Shetty have a question. We have recently migrated to Zoho Payroll. The LTA unpaid amount for the employees for the past 2 years is not visible in system. For us to pay the employees, how to address it? So Jagdish, we request you to drop an email to our support team to understand when you have implemented, and we can understand how it has been configured in your earlier financial year. So this would be helpful for us to address your query more in detail about it. So next question is from Divanshi Gupta. Usually salary revisions are reflected to the employees after the first payroll run. How to ensure that the revised salaries are visible right after the revision? So Devanshis, you can raise a request. We have an option where we can allow you to display the salary revisions once it has been approved from the admin tool. So once you raise a request, our team will enable this option for your organization. So next is from Jignesh Patel. I would like to know how LTA handled in Zoho Payroll for 4 block years and the workflow for the same. So for current LTA block year is 2022 to 2025. So in the month of December 2025, the unclaimed LTA which is accumulated in Zoho payroll system will be paid as a taxable earning by default. Next, we have a question from Snehal. Can we accept last year travel proofs and pay LTA in this year? So we need to ensure the LTA has been created as an allowance or a reimbursement. So Snehal, we request you to drop an email to our support team how the component has been created. So based on which we will address this LTA query. Next, we have a suggestion. Please add an option to pay employee reimbursement directly from payroll, then route it to Zoho expense. So here Zoho payroll and Zoho expense are integrated applications. So once the employee claims the expense from Zoho expense, you have a flexibility to pay the entire amount of approved expense through Zoho payroll system. So is food coupon deduction is a pre-tax or post-tax? So under old tax regime, this food coupon will be considered as a post-tax and the entire amount will be considered as a tax-free. When it comes to new tax regime, the amount will be considered as a taxable earning for the employee. So for your question, the food coupon is post-tax for the old tax regime. Next, we have Sushanta Pal. Reimbursement is taxable. So if the employee is claiming the reimbursement for the amount that you're allocated, so let's say you're giving a reimbursement allowance of 1,000 rupees per employee, which means for an employee, and if he submits the bill for 500 rupees, the remaining 500 rupees will be carried forwarded till the month of March. And if the employee submits the bill for the unclaimed accumulated amount, that amount will be tax free. If the employee fails to submit the bill, then the entire amount would be considered as a taxable earning in the month of March, which is end of the financial year.
Hi everyone. Thanks for posting all your questions. We are answering them one by one. It will be even more better if everybody are posting the questions in the questions tab so that we'll be able to keep a track of all the questions and we can ensure that all the questions are answered and no question is left out. So without posting it in the chat box, I request everyone to post the questions in the question tab. Even if you had posted your question in the chat box right now, please post the question in the questions tab as well so that we will be able to answer those questions. Thank you everyone for understanding.
So next we have a question from Bhaskar Shah. When I run a parent and registered in Zoho book, the pay is showing as wages. I want to change it into the salary. So how can I do that? So you have an option to create the chart of account in Zoho Books, and in Zoho Payroll screen, you have an option to choose the right chart of account where the entry wants to be posted. So I'm sharing my screen to show where the mapping can be done. So for that, you should click on settings. In settings, Zoho apps, and you see Zoho Books. So I'm just switching to Zoho apps. Here you have an option to edit. So once the chart of account is created in your Zoho books, you would be able to choose the right account here. So the created account will be mapped. So the upcoming journals or the wages can be posted on the created account. Next, we have a question from Sri Divya Priya. So how can I get a session for Zoho Books? Yeah, you can drop an email to Zoho Books support team for your clarification on Zoho Books session. And please explain the query in detail so they will be addressing for your query. So next, again, we have a question from Devanshi Gupta. Also, is there any option wherein we can add the reimbursements other than the standard ones mentioned in the portal? Yes, we have some reimbursements which can be enabled from backend, such as books and periodicals, research allowance. So you can let us know or explain the reimbursements that you're looking for to be configured in Zoho Payroll by dropping an email to support at Zoho Payroll. We will let you know the feasibility for the same. Next, we have a question from Nowfall. What is the best way to set up the NPS employer deduction? It is tax-free component up to 10% of ATCCD2. Yes, you have an option to create the NPS as a deduction. For this creating the deduction, you should go to settings. So under settings, you have salary components. So you switch to the deductions tab. So as I have created the NPS deductions already, you're able to see it here. So if not, you will be creating a add component. Here you will choose a pre-tax deduction. So here you would be able to see the NPS as a deduction. So once it is configured, as you said, if the employer contribution is included in CTC, you will enable the small checkbox and mark this as active, and you will save this. So after saving this, you will go into the employee profile and you will add a deduction, which is a pre-tax deduction, and the created NPS will be listed here. So you can enter the contribution is made by employer or employee, and you can click on save. Next, we have a question from Aarti Jain. How to check the TDS calculations done by Zoho? So for that, you can go to the pay runs tab and you can create a pay run. So right side to the employee's net pay, you will see the three dotted button using which you can view the TDS sheet of the employee. So it has a detailed information. What is the total gross earnings and the allowances and the exemptions. So can I get the recorded session for a few queries? Yes, after the meeting, the session the links will be forwarded to your registered email address from our end. We have a question from Ravi. Hello Bharat, how to add performance pay in CTC but it is not paid in monthly, instead paid in annually? Yes, so you can create a component of performance bonus by going to settings and creating it as a one-time earning, and after creating the one-time earning, under the employee salary details, you will go into their profile, click on the edit. So here you have an option above CTC include one-time earnings. So here you will enter the amount that you want to pay. So let's say you're adding 5,000. So this 5,000 will not be paid to your employee's monthly salary. So you have an option in the parent or whichever the parent that you wanted it to be added. So you will go into the parent, select the employee under the earning. You will be able to see the created one-time bonus parent. Next, we have a question from Santosh. Where can I get the employee attritions and growth rate report in Zoho Payroll? So for now, we don't have the employee attrition percentage and growth rate report inside Zoho. But however, you have an option to find the list of exited employees under the employee full and final settlement report. So here you can have an option to customize the calendar and the dates in between, and based on which you can run a report to get the number of employees exited during a specific period. Next, we have a question from Mukesh. How we may set up the leave encashment in auto mode in payroll? Yes, it can be set it up under settings, salary components. We have an option called leave encashment. So here you have an option called custom formulae. So clicking on the custom formulae, you can enter the formula that you are using for calculating the leave encashment, and you will be saving this. And while you're processing the parent, you will have an option to enter the number of days by clicking on the drop down. Once you add the number of days, system will automatically compute what is the leave encashment for the days that you have added. We have a question from Aditya. What if an employee joined in our company in May but already had an IT declared in April month with his previous firm? how do we proceed? In Zoho Payroll, you have an option to declare the previous employment information under IT declaration. The employee who have joined in middle of the financial year, under investment declaration, you will find an option called previous employment details. So in that, the employee can fill in their previous income details and the tax deducted. Next, we have a question from Archana Kannan. Hi, can normal reimbursement company related expense can also be claimed in this or just a tax component? So in Zoho Payroll, the reimbursements which are available is included in CTC, and mainly that these are used for tax benefit for the employees. The expense reimbursements can be claimed using Zoho Expense, but you have an option to pay those approved expense reimbursements via Zoho Payroll. We have a question from Divanshi Gupta. Could you please ask the support team to reach out us as I have few queries to be addressed? Yeah, we recommend you to drop down the list of queries that you're having. So we will have a idea on what modules you are having a query, and based on which our team will be reaching out to you. Next, we have a question from Nagaraj. How do we generate salary structure to offer a new candidate to give him or him the best tax efficient structure, including the flexible benefit plan and the expense reimbursements, including the ceiling limits of reimbursements? Yeah. So we have seen how we can create the list of allowances, and you can set up maximum eligibility for a specific employee, and how to release a flexible benefit plan for your employees to declare it from the employee self-service portal. So you can find the list of flexible benefit plans and the list of allowances and associated with your employees. We have a question from Venkata Ramana. How can we change the salary of an employee after his appraisal? So you can reject the existing appraisal that you have approved, and you have an option to re-revise it. So while you're re-revising, you will have an option to rework on the salary configuration that you require. How to check the TDS calculations? So as I've shown you, it can be viewed under the parents right side to the employee's net pay by clicking on the three dotted button and clicking on the view TDS sheet option. How can we change the super admin in Zoho Payroll? So in Zoho Payroll, we have a concept of admins. So you can add the number of admins to your payroll organization, but we don't have an a concept of super admin in Zoho Payroll. Super admin concept is having in Zoho People for enabling the integration between Zoho People and Zoho Payroll. How to address the cash expenses done by the employee on behalf of the org? It should not come under the reimbursement. Sindhu, we request you to raise a request for this question. So we need to understand more about your query in detail to address it. So do we need to process the payment of reimbursement separately, which is a part of CTC? It is not required to process the reimbursement separately from their regular salary. So once you approve the reimbursement under the approvals tab, the amount will be auto added into their employees' monthly salary on which month that they are claiming. We have a question from Mukesh Sharma. How do we generate the salary structure to an offer? And I believe we have addressed this question, Mukesh. We have raised the question on to the support, but have not been able to handle the same. Could you please direct me to some senior consultant who can resolve it? Yeah, I've noted down your name. Let me try figuring out or finding the request that you have raised, or you can refer the request number that you already addressed, which is not yet resolved. So from there, we will take your question. Hi, I need a basic training for Zoho Payroll. Yes, Revati, you can have a recorded demo, which is already available in it, or else you can drop down the list of questions or the training on which modules that you're looking for, so we can have that addressed. For the approved salary revision, there is no option to print the salary revision letter, but only send by mail option is there. We have to print a letter so that the head of the organization can sign it and hand it over personally. Yeah, thank you for your request for Vijay Kumar. Let us have this information checked, and we will get in touch with you for their salary revision print option. Our leave calendar is from January to December, but the leave encashment for the balance leaves will be given in the month of March. So how should we address it? So leave encashment, you can have your own calendar for encashing the leave and paying it to your employees on a specified month. So if you wish to pay, or if you're willing to pay the amount only in the month of March, during the month of March, you can go into the March month parent and add the leave encashment, or set up the formulae and just enter the number of amount days that you want to encash it. So system will auto compute it during the month of March. What happened when we pay LTA in advance and apply the tax after they submit the documents? So generally, it looks you're referring the LTA as an allowance. So if you're referring the LTA as an allowance, yes, the amount can be paid on a monthly basis, and the proofs can be collected before to the month of March of the financial year. So if the employee submits the bill, the amount will be considered as a tax-free. For the unclaimed amounts, the amount will be considered as a taxable earning. Is reimbursement paid along with the salaries without even submission of reimbursements claimed by the employee? For reimbursements, the employee needs to submit the bill. If the employee is not submitting a bill, the amount of reimbursement that you offered in the CTC will be carry forwarded for the next month. So, for example, if the employee is eligible for 500 for the mobile allowance, mobile reimbursement, if he not submits the bill, the amount of 500 will be carry forwarded for the next month. So on the next month, the employee can claim maximum of 2000 rupees. So in the same way, the amount will be accumulating till end of the financial year until the employee submits the bill. If no bills are submitted, the unclaimed amount will be paid as a taxable amount in the month of March. I want to know the TAT for our questions. Um, if you're asking as in the support request point of view, the first response time would be 8 hours and the maximum would be 24 business hours from our end. Hi, Arvind, can you help me in sharing the recorded session where I can see to manage the business expenses through Zoho Expense? Yeah. So for this, we can share you the help document on expense reimbursements from our end. And if you want to have the expense reimbursements paid through Zoho Expense, we request you to directly reach out to Zoho Expense support team. But we will share the help document for the same. Do the reimbursement bills submitted via payroll portal also shown automatically in Zoho Books like it's done in Zoho Expense? How does the integration look like? So if the employee is not submitting the bills for the reimbursements, that is added as a liability in your Zoho books. When the employee claims the bill, the liability gets reduced, which is accumulated. Yeah, Jignesh, you can use your Q&A tab to ask your question in detail. How can we arrange the names of all employees in alphabetically? Yeah, so for now, you can drop an email to support at the rate zohopayroll.com. We currently we don't have an option to sort it based on the alphabetical sequence. So you can drop an email to our support team. We will have this checked and we will let you know the feasibility. Do we have any option to add the feedback of a specific employee who left the organization? So this can be tracked if you're using Zoho People. Zoho Payroll helps you to manage the payroll level calculations inside it. So you have HRMS tool to track your performance metrics, which helps you to update the feedback of exited employee. Do we need to process the payment of reimbursement separately from the parent? No, the approved reimbursement will be automatically added along to your claiming month parent. So it doesn't need to be paid separately. How can we see the complete salary calculation, including all the deductions, based on such percentages of on how PF is calculated? I want to see every deductions with numbers because I'm unable to understand how Zoho calculates the salary. So once you configure the salary details, you would be able to see the detailed breakdown of that specific employee. So we can see the list of earnings and as well as the deductions. And if you scroll down, you can see the list of deductions which are made by employee and the employer. Yeah, so from where we can see the FPP declaration in the admin page. Yes, we have a separate report for the FPP declaration. So under reports, you can go to FPP declaration report. So here you can see the list of employees who have the FPP and what is the amount that they have opted for the FPP declaration. Let's suppose I generated the parent for the next month by mistake. Can I delete the parent and create it again? Yes, you have an option to delete the parent. So let's say we created the parent by mistake. On the top right hand side, you see the three dotted button and delete parent, and the parent is deleted. So how is the amount from the time tracker reflected in the salary template, specifically the amount from each timesheet? So here we don't work on the timesheet based model. You have the employee CTC. So once the CTC is updated, from there we will take the number of payable days for the processing month. If the employee have taken a leave, you will be adding the loss of pay for the number of for the specific employees. Is reimbursement component shown in payslips for employee? Yes. If the employee is claiming the reimbursement on the claiming month and the amount is approved, the approved amount will be displayed in the reimbursements tab. If there is no claims which is made for the month, then it will be carried forwarded. If the food coupon is a post-tax deduction, then it would be come under taxable earning. How the employee get any tax benefit? Please elaborate. So food coupon is something that we show it as an earning and as well as a deduction in Zoho payroll system. Since the food coupon amount is loaded into the Sodexo cards, so he doesn't know the amount which has been actually paid to the employees. So the amount that you have entered is considered as an earning and as well as an tax exemption if the employee have opted for the old tax regime. If it is a new tax regime, it is considered for the taxability. Can we configure performance incentive, which is a part of CTC, while configuring employee CTC with effective from payable months if it is for more than 1 month? So in professional plan, we have an option called schedule payout. So using which you can schedule the performance incentive to be paid on a specific month. Yeah, we have 5 more questions that is in unanswered state. So let's take 5 more minutes to address that, and we'll close for this day. So we are Zoho One user, and Zoho People is integrated with Zoho Payroll. So how to show balance or unused leaves? Yeah, you can drop an email to our support of Zoho One team. So we will explain how it can be done. What is a prescribed format of opening a payslip? So the password for the payslip will be sent along with the email. So if an employee receives the payslip with the password protected, they will have the hint for the password that is being addressed in the subject line. How to add car lease expenses to be shown as a deduction in the pay calculation. So here under the employees, you have an option to add the employee vehicle expense details. So you can add or update the vehicle details based on the list of questions that has been asked. So the amount for the car details will be considered as a perquisite and considered for the taxability. How can we pay performance pay 3 months once? Yeah, it is possible to pay while you're processing the parent. So let's say you want to pay the performance pay in the month of May. So you can have an option to upload the informations as in the form of bulk. So after creating the parent, you have an option to import and export the one-time earnings and deductions. So here on the right-hand side, you click on import earnings and deductions, one-time earning. So download the CSV or Excel list that has the employee information. So under parents, you have an option to download the one-time earnings and deductions file. So after downloading the one-time and deductions file, you will be mentioning the employee ID and what is the bonus that you want to pay for that particular quarter. And remaining columns can be deleted. How to run one-time earnings for a bulk FNF run. So if you're asking a one-time earning to be added in the bulk settlement parent, so you go into the specific employee and in that you will have the list of earnings. So using which you can add the list of allowances or the one-time payments that you want to pay. So if we see in this final settlement payroll, so here we can see the list of earnings under which we can pay the allowances that you require. When the time of TDS filing returns for Form 16 in traces, I'm facing a few difficulties in the formats of filing. In future, any possibilities to get the same traces portal formats in Zoho Payroll portal? The Part A and Part B file can be downloaded from traces portal and it can be merged and uploaded into Zoho Payroll, and you can use the Zoho Signer tool for signing in the Form 16. Yeah, it is possible. You can download the unsigned Form 16 of Part A and Part B and merge it and upload it into Zoho Payroll. Can we download the salary structure from payroll for a new candidate? Yes. So under the salary details tab, you have an option called a three-dotted button. So using which you can download the salary details. That's it for our Q&As for today. So thank you so much for everyone for joining in. So if you have any further questions on this expert talk or any queries on Zoho Payroll, you can drop an email to support@Zoho Payroll, or you can use the contact support option with your query in a detail. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Manasa will be taking further.
Thank you for the presentation, Arun. Thank you, team. Arvind, Bharat, and Aditya for answering all the questions patiently throughout. Thank you, team, for that. And thank you, everyone, for attending our session and staying till the end. We are looking forward to seeing you in all our sessions with the same enthusiasm. So, we'll be sending out the registration forms through mails and within the product for you to register and attend as and when we keep coming up with new sessions. So, we are looking forward for you to register and attend all the sessions. Thank you, everyone.